Part 2, Transient Edition. So now that we're in the swing of things, let's see how these plugins match up with snares. Let's go. Okay, so let's start with no processing on one track on the left, and on the right, how I would normally set up the transient master on a snare like this, with the noise on the end, but cutting that out and making the snap really hard. Check it out. Now, as you can see, they're both hitting at -6 dB peak level. Why is the other one louder? Well, not only are we pushing the transients up front and also the sustain, but we're driving the RMS level louder as well and containing it with the limiter at the end of the transient master. Now, that sounds really, really good. So now, let's go to the other plugins to see if we can get it more up front. So the first one I started off with now is number 3 for snares for me, and that's knock. And the only reason it's number 3 for me is because you don't have any control over the sustain. And that's pretty important, at least for me. So now let's check out my number 2. And again, being able to push the input into this plugin to hit the limiter just right, and then turn the knobs to where I like to add to the initial transient, and then take back the sustain, so that way I get a clear and concise punch out of the actual snare and not the noise or anything else. This is what shines in the Native Instruments Transient Master. I love it. Now, there is one other thing I didn't tell you, and you probably know this, but if you don't own Blue Cat's plugin, that's okay. There's another way to do it. It's a longer way, but it's a free way. Let me show you. So I have 2 trim plugins and the Transient Master in between. Now the first trim plugin is used to push the volume into the Transient Master, same way the Blue Cat's input does on the Transient Master that's inside that plugin. And the last trim plugin after the Transient Master, you're always going to set it to your final destiny. In my case, it's -6 dB, but you can set it anywhere, -12, -9, -1. So you want to start there first. Set your final destination. Then on the Transient Master, leave the gain at 0 and leave the limit on, as that's by default. And remember what I told you, the limiter doesn't start until it hits 0 and anything after that. Then you're gonna set your attack, where you want your attack to be, how hard you want that attack to be as well, whether it be on snare, kicks, vocals, background vocals, whatever. Then set your sustain. If you set it in minus, it'll start taking off the end. So if you have background noise, hum, hiss, or let's just say a reverb on a snare like this one, I want a more direct sound. So I turn the sustain to the left, which then takes away from that reverb and consolidates it to a more cleaner snare sound. Now I go to the top trim plugin and I start pushing into that. Now here's a tip. When you're setting the attack and the sustain, try to lower your volume. This is very, very important. Lower your volume till you're barely hearing the snare, and then start messing with the attack and the sustain. This way, 1, you take the room out of what you're hearing, and 2, it forces you to focus more on the sound itself. I'll get more into that, as that's a major key when mixing. So turn it low, till you barely hear it. Start moving the attack up till you get it to feel just right, and then lower the sustain. Or if you want more of the room sound or the reverb or whatever background noise or certain type of noise that you have with the snare, and you want more of that, the sustain acts more like a upwards compressor where it starts drawing from the lower sounds and bringing that sound up. And that's a cool sound too as well. And you'll notice this when I go to the full mix. Now, when you push the volume from the first trim into the plugin, you want to hit it into distortion where you barely hear the distortion, and then start pulling it back until you don't hear any distortion. But now you hear the sound just up front and just how you like it. And here's the result of that. On the left, it's going to be the two trims with the plugin in the middle. On the right, it'll be the Blue Cats version. And as you'll see, they sound the same, exactly the same, no difference. So if you want to do it the free way, you can. It just uses up more slots. And with the Blue Cats plugin, you could put multiple plugins behind each other, and you could just do a lot more than you can with two trim plugins. And I'll go deeper into the Blue Cats plugin in a later video. So as you see, the implementation is the same. The results are the same, no difference. So now let's go to my number one plugin for getting the most out of snare transients. Now, this one has a little bit more transient punch, but I'll be honest, I go between both the Transient Master and this plugin. The reason why I would say the Transient Master can be number one is because of the incredible sustain and how it can pull it back to get more of the sound of the initial sound. On this one, it doesn't have the same sustain, but the punch pulls it out a little bit more up front. So that's why the TB Tech Trinity Shaper is number one. Now again, mind you, the Transient Master could be also number one if you want more of the direct sound and you want to pull back the sustain. It just seems like the Transient Master has a better sustain. But as far as pushing the transient out up front, this plugin, the Trinity Shaper, just really draws the transient in front of your face. So that's why I say this one is number one. I won't hold you any longer. The next video will be part 3, and it'll be on a full mix. And let's see which one is number 1, number 2, and number 3. Thanks again. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. I'll be glad to answer them. Or if you'd like to see a certain video on a certain plugin, I love to give whatever knowledge I have to you so you can get better mixes. With that being said, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video.